While time travel remains a staple of science fiction, the digital world is frequently captivated by proof that surfaces in our historical records. These artifacts appear to show modern technology existing decades or even centuries before its invention. In 1928, during the Los Angeles premiere of Charlie Chaplin's The Circus, a camera captured a woman walking past Grauman's Chinese theater. She appears to hold a thin, black device to her ear, talking with the familiar rhythm of a modern cell phone conversation. Similar anomalies appear in this 1943 photograph of holidaymakers on Taoan Beach. Among the crowded sunbathers is a man in a brown suit, standing with the unmistakable posture of someone staring down at a smartphone screen. Even in 19th century art, the pattern persists. An 1860 painting by Ferdinand Georg Waldmüller shows a woman walking along a country path, her eyes fixed on a small, rectangular object she holds out in front of her. These images are genuine historical artifacts. Forensic examination of the film, the prints, and the canvas proves they have not been digitally altered or photoshopped. This creates a deep tension. If the media is authentic, but time travel is impossible, we have to look closely at how our modern eyes might be misreading the details of the past. When we lose the specific visual vocabulary of a previous era, our brains often default to the nearest modern equivalent to make sense of a scene. This historical amnesia forces us to project our own world onto the gaps in our knowledge. The device seen in the 1928 Chaplin footage is a portable hearing aid, likely an acousticon manufactured by Miller Reese Hutchison. This was cutting-edge technology for the time, requiring the user to hold a bulky, rectangular receiver directly to the ear. The woman in the 1860 painting is staring at a small, black prayer book. Walking and reading from these pocket-sized religious texts was a common practice for a young woman of that era heading to church. This projection also applies to a famous 1941 photograph of a bridge reopening in British Columbia. Among the crowd is a man known as the time-traveling hipster, highlighted for his modern-looking sunglasses, his small camera, and a printed t-shirt. Research shows that his appearance is entirely period-accurate. Sunglasses with that specific silhouette were available as early as the 1920s, and Kodak had been selling portable cameras of that size since 1938. The printed t-shirt is actually a heavy wool sweater featuring a sewn-on emblem, a style worn by 1940 sports teams like the Montreal Maroons. The past was filled with diverse fashion and clunky, forgotten gadgets. We misinterpret these items because we've forgotten the true variety of historical life, not because the future has intervened. Information on the internet often travels without its original context. As a story is shared, the metadata and intent that identify it as fiction or satire are gradually stripped away. This happened with the legend of Rudolph Fentz. The story claims that in 1951, a man wearing 19th century clothes was killed by a car in New York City, with investigators supposedly finding items in his pockets that proved he had vanished in 1876. The Fentz case is not a police record. The entire tale was lifted from a 1951 science fiction short story called I'm Scared by author Jack Finney. A similar process created the myth of Andrew Carlson. In 2003, reports circulated that Carlson was arrested for turning an $800 stock investment into $350 million. He supposedly claimed to be a time traveler from 200 years in the future before vanishing from police custody. The Carlson story was a deliberate piece of satire, originally appearing in the Weekly World News. When it was picked up by other news aggregators, the satirical framing was removed, and it began to circulate as an unsolved mystery. Digital forwarding allows obvious fiction to be repackaged as history. Once the satirical or science fiction origin is gone, only the mystery remains. In some cases, these legends aren't the result of a misunderstanding, but are actively manufactured through the creation of complex lore within online communities. Around the year 2000, a forum user named John Teeter claimed to be a soldier from 2036. He told followers he was on a military mission to retrieve an old computer to save his future. Teeter's timeline predicted a catastrophic U.S. Civil War starting in 2008, followed by a nuclear world war in 2015. Both years passed without incident. These failed predictions unmasked the persona as a likely hoax created by two siblings in Florida. Other online myths became collaborative grifts. A spammer named Robert J. Cadgett. Tadino sent mass emails seeking a dimensional warp generator. Rather than ignoring him, recipients sold him fake parts, like repurposed hard drive motors, or charged him thousands of dollars for time travel training courses. The internet acts as an accelerant, transforming a solitary delusion or a simple prank into a sprawling mythology that people can participate in and even profit from. Alleged time travelers act as cultural Rorschach tests. We look at the artifacts of the past and see our own modern technological biases reflected back at us. When we encounter a viral anomaly in an old photo or text, the default assumption should be to investigate the historical context rather than assuming the impossible. The historical record is the actual time machine. The challenge is learning how to read its genuine diversity instead of simply projecting ourselves onto it.